It's 2025 and there's a summoned skull in my deck. What is up, duelists? Super Insane 18 here, and today we are going to be showing you a Primite Fiendsmith deck profile. It's actually a really cool concept, and we will get into it with the deck profile, so let's jump on in. And really quickly, before we actually get into the profile, I want to break down some of the math of the deck. The deck contains 16 one-card starters, 18 hand traps, 3 engine requirements, and 3 power spells, which means that the math roughly adds up to an 89.5% chance that you are going to see at least one starter and 1 hand trap, meaning that you have anywhere from 3 to 5 interruptions, pretty much guaranteed, 90% chance. So let's go ahead and show you the deck. Of course, we have our 2 vanillas. We have the Dippity and the Summoned Skull. Now, 2 vanillas are actually crucial to this combo, so you do want to make sure that you run them, and the reason we've chosen Summoned Skull as our other vanilla is because it is a level 6 Fiend, meaning that it can fit into our Fiendsmith engine. Of course, we have our 3 copies of Primite Dragon Ether Barrel. This is just another starter for the deck, being able to get you any of your Primite cards. We have our Fiendsmith engine with the 3 copies of Engraver, again another starter, the 1 copy of Lacrima, which is a starter, and the 1 copy of Lurry, which ironically is a starter, because normal summoning either of those 2 cards also just gets you into your Caesar. That's actually going to be it for the regular monster. Now we just have a bunch of hand traps. Of course, we have our 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, one of the best hand traps of the format. We have our 3 copies of Ash Blossom, being the most generic. We have our 3 copies of Fuwalos in case we are going second, and then we have our 3 copies of Nibiru as well. Now, there are a couple of other hand traps later in the build. We'll go ahead and just skip to those. Of course, we have the 3 copies of the Dominus Purge, essentially being another Ash Blossom in a way, and it doesn't really hurt our deck all that much because we rely on primarily light monsters. It can hurt the extra deck, but we have answers for that anyway. And then, of course, the 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence as well. Again, that is 18 hand traps. We are on to our Primite Lordly Loads, another starter for the deck, with the 1 copy of Primite Roar, another starter for the deck, and then of course we have our 1 copy of Drill Beam. Now I do want to go back a little bit to the Primite Roar. Roar is actually really cool in this deck because it just special summons the Dippity from your deck, meaning that you have your full Fiendsmith combo at the cost of 2,000 life points, but it also acts as an interruption as well, which you'll see in the combo at the end. We have our 3 copies of Fiendsmith's Tract, again another starter for the deck, being able to just put the Lurry on the board. Those 3 power spells I mentioned, the Called by the Grave, the Crossout Designator, and the Triple Tactics Talent, and the final card for the deck, of course, being the Fiendsmith in Paradise, giving us 40 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. Now, the extra deck is pretty straightforward. There is one change that you could potentially make, and we will discuss it when we get there. But to kick things off, we have 2 copies of the Fiendsmith's Desiree. The reason you want to is because there's actually boards where you want to end with 1 on field, but still have 1 in the extra deck for the Fiendsmith in Paradise to be able to send. And of course, you can always just recur them with your Fiendsmith engine anyway, so just really, really strong to have 2. And of course, the Necroquip Princess as well, just being a crucial part of the combo. We have our 1 copy of Chaos Angel. This is really, really good into something like Ryziel. Ryziel has a very hard time getting rid of it, and of course you can make it with your Fiendsmith engine, meaning that with light monsters, it will be unaffected by your opponent's monster effects. Very, very strong card. We have 3 Xyz monsters, of course, the Wave High King Caesar, the Evolzor Lars, and the Typhon. Now, Typhon is the flex spot. There is a world where you can play any rank 4 of your choice, because you have a ton of ways to make rank 4s, right? You have the Lacrima, the Dippity, the Barrel Dragon, the Fuwalos. Being able to just special the Dippity off of something like your Primite cards is really, really strong, and then normal a hand trap, or normal your Lacrima, or whatever it may be. So I went with the Typhon because it just felt better as a going second card, but there is a world where you can play like Baguska, Tornado Dragon, any other powerful rank 4, and to be honest, there also is a world where you can play a second Wave High King Caesar, but I think the Evolzor Lars is a little bit more varied interruptions. You know, it is essentially an Omni Negate, so it just really depends on what you have. This is usually what you make if you aren't able to get game on your next turn. You'll go through the Wave High King Caesar on turn 1, and then the Lars on turn 2. Onto the Link monsters, we have 2 copies of Fiendsmith's Requiem. We want to because this deck just completely runs out your Fiendsmith engine like crazy, and of course people are hitting this card with like Bestials and other things, so you just want to make sure that you always have a second option. We have our 1 copy of the Fiendsmith sequence as well, with the 1 copy of the Moon of the Closed Heaven, and finishing off the Fiendsmith package is of course, the 1 Agnum Day. Really, really strong card, being able to reborn out your Desiree as well. And finishing off the extra deck, we have 1 Link Spider, 1 IP Masquerena, and 1 SP Little Knight. The Link Spider is just in case you need to turn any of your vanillas into an effect monster for something like SP Little Knight. So yeah, that's going to be the extra deck. Let's show you guys the combo. Okay, so remember we have 16 1-card starters, meaning that it is over a 90% chance that you will be able to perform this combo, so very, very consistent and very, very strong. I've chosen to show you the Ether Barrel as the combo starter just because it is slightly better than the rest, so let's show you guys how it works. Of course, you start off with the normal summon of the Ether Barrel, and utilizing its effect, we are going to set the Primite Lordly Load from our deck to our side of the field. We can then go ahead and activate it, which will allow us to add a Primite card. We are, of course, going to add our Primite Roar. Now, the thing with Primite Roar is in order to be able to special summon, you actually have to have no monsters. Thankfully for us, though, the Ether Barrel does double duty here, because we can utilize its effect, sending itself, or rather tributing itself from the field, to then send a vanilla monster or a normal monster from our deck to our grave. It is going to be the Summoned Skull. Now, not only is that important for clearing up our board, but it's also very important because we want the Summoned Skull in the graveyard for the secondary effect of the Roar, which we will talk about at the end board. So we will go ahead and activate the Roar. We can use its effect to declare Dippity, and then we can, of course, special summon out the Dippity from our deck, and that is the full setup for our Fiendsmith engine. Being a light fiend, we can, of course, link the Dippity off into our copy of Requiem, and utilizing the Requiem, we can tribute it off to special summon out our copy of Lacrima. Lacrima on summon is going to send us our copy of Fiendsmith Engraver to the graveyard, and then we can utilize the graveyard effect of the Requiem to attach, or rather equip, to the Lacrima, and then utilizing the Lacrima and the Requiem, those are the fusion materials necessary for the Necroquip Princess. With the Necroquip Princess now on field, we can use the graveyard effect of the Fiendsmith Engraver, shuffling back the Dippity because we no longer need that to summon itself from our graveyard, and now with 2 level 6 fiends on our side of the field, we can overlay them into our copy of Wave High King Caesar, and that is going to be the end board. Now, this is a minimum of 4 interruptions, not to mention you have 4 other cards in your hand for potential hand traps. Where do those 4 interruptions come from? Of course, we have the 2 negates off of the Caesar. We also have the Lacrima and the Requiem in the graveyard, meaning that the Lacrima can reborn the Requiem can summon back the Lacrima can send the Fiendsmiths in Paradise, and Fiendsmiths in Paradise then gets to send the Desiree for another interruption, but we also have that Primite Roar that I talked about. Now, what is the other effect of Primite Roar? When your opponent normal summons, you can actually banish it, and then target a normal monster in your graveyard, and get rid of a card your opponent controls whose attack is equal to or less than that monster. Of course, being the Summoned Skull as a 2500, there's nothing in the game that your opponent is going to just normal summon that is going to have more attack than 2500, so they pretty much don't get a normal summon in this combo as well. So a normal summon removal, 2 special summon negates, and the Fiendsmiths in Paradise as well, with the 4 cards left in your hand, again leaving room for those potential hand traps. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Fiendsmith Primite deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It is a relatively simple deck, and I think that it is very strong. Caesar plus hand traps is really, really good this format, so you know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends. As always, don't forget to check out the channel sponsor Dueling Guard. Using my code Insane18 or my link in the description down below, you can get 5% off your entire order. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.